All right, guys, so for number 1, we're just going to jump right in here. Oh, take this wrench here off. We know that our base is 19, and we know that our height, which I should have had a little right box there, is 13. So since it's a parallelogram, area equals base times height. So I'm going to do 19 times 13, and when I get that, I will have 247 units squared. All right, then it asks me to find the area of the parallelogram. Well, what I need to think of is that I have a right triangle, right? And I know that this is 45, I know this is 90, and I know this is 45. So I know this side right here is 16, and then I also know my other sides. This is in rad 2, this is n, and this is n. I need my n right here. So I'm going to take that 16 and set it equal to n rad 2. I'll divide by rad 2 and divide by rad 2. I'll end up with 16 over rad 2 equals n. And then I can't have a radical on the bottom, so I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by rad 2. I end up with 16 rad 2 over 2, and that simplifies down to 8 rad 2. That's my height. So now I know my height is 8 rad 2. And from there, it's just base times height. So 8 rad 2 times 24, and you can only multiply these two numbers. Your radical is protected in there, and your answer would be 192 rad 2 units squared. Remember to read the directions that it says leave as a simplified radical. Okay, for number 3, I'm going to break this into 3 separate shapes. All right, this will be shape number 1, number 2, and number 3. I'm going to find the small rectangle first, for shape number 1, and the base would be 16, and the height would be 11. So when I multiply those two, I'll get 176. And now I'm going to find number 2. Well, for number 2, shape number 2, I guess I won't just call it the medium rectangle or the large rectangle. For my base, I need to take 34 and subtract this 16. Because 34 is this whole piece, I need to subtract this 16. So I'm going to have 34 minus 16, and I'm going to end up with 18. And then for my height, I'm going to take this whole distance, 29, and subtract oh, just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take my 8 and add it to my 11, this portion and this portion, and get 19. So 18 times 19 equals 342. Then I get to my triangle. So my triangle, or shape number 3, now I'm going to take 29 minus 8 minus 11 to find my height, this little bit right here. So 29 minus 8 minus 11, and I will get 10. And then for my base, well, it was the same base as before, 34, so this is my height. My base was 34 minus the 16. And the same as the triangle, and that would give me 18. That would be 10 times 18, which gives me 180. I'm then going to add all of them together. 176 plus 342 plus 180, and I will end up with 608 units squared. 8, I can add them together, 10 and 6. All right, number 4, hopefully not too terrible. If you look at this figure, you should see that your base is 22, so base is 22, and your height is 13. So you're going to do 22 times 13 and divide it by 2. When you do that, you should get 143 units squared. All right, let's go ahead and turn the page. And we'll look at this one. All right, well, I know my base for number 5. I know that my base equals 32. Now my height is the tricky one. What I need to think of is that this is a right triangle, right? With 60 degrees right here, and 90 here, and 30 there. And I know this side is 20 because they gave it to me. So this side is technically my 2n side. This side is my n rad 3 side. And this side is just my n. Well, I need to find my n so I can find this height. So I'm going to take 20 and set it equal to 2n. And it will end up with n equals 10. So now I know this side is 10. And since my n is 10, this side becomes 10 rad 3. So I now know my height is equal to 10 rad 3. Well, it's a triangle, so it's base times height, 32 times 10 rad 3, all divided by 2, which gives me 320 rad 3 divided by 2. When I do that, I end up with 160 rad 3 units squared. All right, well, now we're on to a trapezoid. So remember, I want to identify my bases, and base 1 is 10, base 2 is 14, and it's b1 plus b2, so 10 plus, or times your height divided by 2. So 10 plus 14 times your height, which is 6, all divided by 2, which would be 24 times 6 divided by 2, which would be 144 divided by 2, which would give you 72 units squared. Okay, so number 7 is where things got a little tricky for some of us. Let me just pull this camera a little bit over. And zoom out a little. Oh, that zoomed out too far. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a trapezoid so I have a good visual. I know that the area of the trapezoid is 540 centimeters. And I know, goodness, I want the perimeter. The perimeter is 71 centimeters. And I know that one leg is 17 and one leg is 18. So I technically need only b1 plus b2 times my height divided by 2. I technically only need the sum of my two bases. So if I know the perimeter, then and I subtract 17 and 18, then I am actually left with the sum of my two bases, which is 36. The question is asking me to find my height, but it gives me my area. So I'm going to plug in 540, which is my area, set it equal to the sum of my two bases, which was 36, multiply it by my height, which I'm trying to solve for, and divide it by 2. All right, I want to get rid of this divide by 2 first, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I'm going to end up with 1080 equals 36h. I'll divide by 36 and divide by 36, and I will get h equals 30. All right, then we move down to number 8 here. Find the area of the shaded region below and round your answer 2 decimals. I'm going to find the area of the square, which is simply going to be 11 times 11. And that'll give me 121. All right, and now I'm going to find the area of the circle. So I know the area equals pi times my radius squared. Well, my radius is half of 11. R equals 11 divided by 2, which is 5.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do pi times 5.5 squared. All right, when I simplify that, that becomes 30.25. And because it says round by 2 decimals, I'm going to multiply that by pi, which we technically use 3.14. All right, we're going to say that pi equals 3.14. I'll have that on the board just so you guys don't get confused. And when I multiply those two, I end up with 95.03. It's asking me to find the area of the shaded region, so I need to take the area of my square and subtract the circle. 121 minus 95.03, and I will end up with 25.97 units squared. Okie doke. It says find the area of a rhombus that has diagonals that are 13 and 19 inches. So I'll draw a rhombus and hopefully remind you guys that the diagonals of a rhombus, they bisect each other, and they're perpendicular. So if I know that one entire diagonal is 19, then I know that this part of it is 8.5. Wait, sorry, that would be 9.5, wouldn't it? All right, so, and then this piece would be 6.5 and 6.5. But you guys, it doesn't really even matter, right? Because all I need to know for the area of a rhombus is diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. So I would do 13 times 19 divided by 2, and I would get 123.5 inches squared. All right, now we get to the one that I was starting before. Oh, wow, I hope you guys could see any of that. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. I need to look up at my screen more. Sorry about that. Okay, number 10. Here's my rhombus again. It says the perimeter is equal to 36. So remember that a rhombus, all 4 sides are congruent, so I'm going to do 36, divide it by 4, and I'm going to get 9. So I know each side is equal to 9. All right, and the diagonals form a right angle. All right, and I know that one diagonal is equal to 12. All right, one of them is equal to 12, which means that one piece is 6 and the other piece is 6. So what I have in essence is I have a right triangle. Across, would be 9 across from my 90-degree angle, and then one of my sides, it doesn't matter which one, is equal to 6. I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem because it's a right triangle and I know 2 sides. I'm going to say x squared plus 6 squared equals 81 squared. All right, so x squared plus 36 equals, sorry, that was 9 squared, which is 81. I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides and get x squared equals 45. I'm going to simplify that radical, or you guys can just take the square root of it. If I simplify the radical, I will get x equals 3 rad 5. And remember, that's only part of it, right? So you would need to double it. So diagonal 2 would be equal to 6 rad 5. Diagonal 1 we already know was equal to 12. Then I need to multiply 12 times 6 rad 5, all divided by 2. That would be 72 rad 5 divided by 2, which would give me 36 rad 5. If you did it by simply taking the square root right here, instead of simplifying it, you should have the answer 80.4 centimeters squared. Because it doesn't specify to leave it as a simplified radical or a decimal, you can use whichever option you prefer. All right, so this one says find the area of a regular pentagon with the side length equal to 30. Round your answer 2 decimals. I'm going to draw a pentagon. 30 is going to be a very long side length, so all of these sides are equal to 30. All right, and let's remember the area equals your apothem times your perimeter divided by 2. So my apothem and my perimeter. Well, I can figure out my perimeter. My perimeter, I'm simply going to take the 5 times 30 and get 150. Now I need to figure out what my apothem is. So I'm going to start with my central angle. 360 divided by 5, and that's going to give me 72. This whole angle is 72, but don't forget the apothem splits it in half. So now the angle is actually going to be 36. So I now have this triangle where I know this angle is 36, and this side, which is split in half too, is 15. I'll put my googly eyes on it, and this would be my opposite, this would be my adjacent. I would have tangent 36 equals my opposite, 15 over my adjacent, which we'll just call x. Multiply both sides by x, end up with tangent 36 equals times x equals 15, divide by tangent 36, divide by tangent 36. And I get x equals 20.65. So now I know, moving back, that my apothem is 20.65. Now I'll go ahead and find the area, which is
20.65 times my perimeter, 150, all divided by 2. When I do that, I get 1,548.43 units squared. Alright, well, same idea for this one. Alright, find the area of a regular heptagon with a side length equal to 16, round 2 decimals. I can't really draw a heptagon very well, so I am going to tell you that your perimeter, there's 7 sides for a heptagon, and we're going to multiply it by 16. That's going to give you 112. Then what we're going to do is we're going to find our central angle. So we're going to take 360, we're going to divide it by 7, we're going to get 51.43. We need to divide that in half, and that will give us 25.71. So I'm going to have a right triangle, 25.71, and now the side length is no longer 16, but 8. Alright, this would be my opposite, this would be my adjacent. This is the side I want to solve for, because that's my apophthegm, right? From our googly eyes, opposite, adjacent. So I'll have tangent 25.71 equals 8 over x. Multiply both sides by x, multiply both sides by x. And divide by tangent 25.71. I'll end up with x, or my apophthegm, equals 16.62. So now, I know my apophthegm. Oops, keep forgetting to move this over. Now I know my apophthegm is 16.62, and my perimeter equals 112. I'm going to multiply the two. So I'm running out of room. 16.62 times 112 and divide by 2, and I will end up with an area of 930.72 units squared. Okay, now let's think. If the perimeter of a rectangle is 24, meaning the sides added together, and the area is 27, find the length of the base and the height. Well, let's think of numbers that multiply, when they multiply, add to 27. Well, the only ones that come to mind for me are 3 and 9. So 3 and 9. And let's see if when we add them up, 9 plus 9 is 18, 3 plus 3 is 6, oh, that equals 24. So that would give us a perimeter of 24 and an area of 27. So you know that your height and base are 3 and 9. And that would be your answer, and that's the end of your study guide. Alright, bye guys. I will see you later.